What's going on, Internet? IG here again today. Today I'm going to be talking about my week with a Windows phone. So as you know, I've always been a Linux fan. I love Linux, I love running it on most of the computers that I have, and I guess in that vein I also love Android and all of the apps and kind of the modulability of something like Android. Hence, I've always had an Android phone since I've had a smartphone, and I was always curious as to what a Microsoft Windows phone would look like. And I guess I did experiment there with an Apple iPhone for a bit. I didn't like it, to be honest, but this is going to be the story about my week with a Windows phone. Some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I think they could do better. Because in terms of being platform agnostic, I try to get my fingers into as many different technological ecosystems as I can to kind of evaluate the options and present them to people like yourselves, to people who might be curious about what else is out there. In terms of versions, we're at Windows Phone 8.1. It's a pretty mature operating system for a smartphone at this point, and it's caught up in terms of features and I guess all the little tidbits that make a phone OS fun, engaging, and relevant in today's world. Some of the things that I really valued about my week with Windows Phone was both the design and consistency of the operating system in terms of user experience and user interface across not just the system but all of the apps included. Very simple to pick up and understand, and in terms of recommending a smartphone for your grandma, this would probably be the one because there's not really a whole lot of variety in terms of how apps work. They work one way, it's pretty simple, and it's pretty easy to grasp. So that was something that I was impressed by. Not to mention the fact that it does actually look very clean, modern, and pretty well organized. The other thing that really got me was battery life. Again, spec-wise, I was using a Nokia Lumia 735, which is a relatively recent smartphone, but it is very mid-range. It's not designed to be a high-end smartphone, it's not designed to be a low-end prepaid phone, it's somewhere right smack bang in the middle. And in terms of battery life, I was very impressed. It was a 2200 milliamp hour battery, and from what I've heard and from what I've read elsewhere, Windows Phone seems to be very efficient when it comes to managing those power resources. I was consistently getting about 2 to 3 days of use out of my Windows Phone, even though I was using it just as much as I would use any other phone. It would usually last a full day and sometimes a bit more, depending on obviously the model. But I was very pleasantly surprised with what Windows Phone 8.1 was capable of in terms of battery life. The other thing that really got me was system management and the tools that come available on a Windows Phone. In terms of things like managing storage, managing your Wi-Fi, managing your data, all of these things are very, very configurable, which I was very surprised to see. There are so many tools and little pieces of customization hidden away in terms of the phone itself that you can actually really dial down how much data you're using, how much battery you're using, how much storage you're using, and where all of those things are coming to and from. So the tool set that you get included on a Windows Phone is actually pretty impressive for those of you who really want to geek out and have pretty much full control over your phone without having to root it or install third-party apps. I thought the out-of-the-box functionality was pretty impressive. And while we're on that roll, I'll also say that the amount of value you get out of the box of a Windows Phone, especially a Lumia, is pretty ridiculous. You get apps to pretty much do most things that you would want to do, including tying in your third-party email accounts. Mix Radio is obviously a streaming service that you can listen to music, artists that you like, etc. They bundle a lot in terms of value out of the box of a phone. So I was surprised how much I was able to do with the phone just after I booted it up for the first time, instead of going straight to the App Store and looking for a whole bunch of apps to do all the things that I would usually do on an Android phone. Also, they're very good at productivity. Obviously, considering that Microsoft is heavily invested in the business world in terms of their Exchange server and also Office as a whole, you obviously get very good integration with those when it comes to a Windows phone. So, by and large, if you're a business person and you like integration with your business accounts, yeah, Windows Phone is definitely the new BlackBerry in that sense. It is very easy to integrate things like your Office, your Exchange, Outlook. All of those things can boil down to your phone very, very quickly. You don't have to install any extra software or configure anything. It all just works, which is pretty impressive. And there's also a couple of other little things, kind of similar to what I mentioned about the tool set. There's this wonderful little app on the phone, which again, the execution is very well done here in terms of transferring data from your old phone to your new phone. It sets up a Bluetooth FTP server, and it can literally transfer everything from your music, your contacts, your call logs, your messages, your photos, everything off your old phone to your new phone, and that will work whether you are on an iPhone, an Android phone, or another Windows phone. So I thought that was very well done, and it's stuff like that that makes it easy for people to transition over to a new Windows phone, for example. So kudos to Microsoft and also the Nokia team, I guess, for getting that simple stuff, for getting it right. Alright, so what doesn't Windows Phone do well? Well, to be honest, it really comes down to third-party apps. Third-party apps are around and they're out there, and the Windows Phone marketplace is growing. The ecosystem is maturing. However, when it comes to tying into third-party kind of content providers, for me, a big one was Google Play Music. I've got a Google Play Music subscription, so figuring out a way to get that on my Windows Phone took me a little while. Took a bit of Googling, took a bit of searching through the App Store, and I found an app that did the job very well. However, because they are third-party apps, they never work as well as the natively developed ones by Google or by Microsoft. So it is a little bit slow and clunky at times. And I guess that's probably, by and large, the experience that I've had with some of the other third-party apps out there. All of the apps that come pre-installed on the phone work amazing. All of the ones that are developed by approved developers are amazing. But the ones that are kind of neither here nor there, they can sort of lag a bit. At least that was my experience on a mid-range phone. Now again, I've talked to people who have the higher end phones and they say it's not an issue. So I'd say it's just the fact that they're not, maybe they're not as coded as efficiently as some of the Windows Phone apps. Don't get me wrong, they're not nearly as bad as the amount of crap that comes in the Android store, and for that I am very grateful. But yeah, third-party apps are a thing, and obviously if you want good apps, then they are out there. You just have to go looking for them a bit harder than you do on Android and iOS. Now the other knock that I will put against the Windows Phone is content consumption and discovery. Kind of what I alluded to before, it's very difficult to go and buy stuff and find good stuff to invest in terms of a marketplace on a Windows Phone. On an iPhone, you've got iTunes, which pretty much bugs you to buy stuff all the time. On an Android phone, you've got Google's immense marketplace of books and movies and TV shows and music and all of that fun stuff. So a Windows Phone is kind of up in the air in terms of where you get your content from. Obviously, Xbox does have quite a large catalogue of TV shows, movies and music, but then you're kind of left wondering where to get your books and your podcasts and all that kind of thing. It does a pretty good job, but it's just not amazing when it comes to discovering new content. And this is, again, just a platform maturity thing. But as somebody that likes coming across new stuff all the time, it was a little bit disappointing in that regard. So, I guess in conclusion, despite the limitations of the device that I had, a mid-range Lumia 735, I was actually genuinely impressed with what Windows Phone brought to the table. As a platform that 2 years ago probably wouldn't have been all that fun to use, I actually found myself enjoying the experience quite a bit. So would I buy a Windows Phone? Well, for the same price that I bought my Moto X 2013, which was around 350 bucks, yeah, probably not, because I want the flagship specs that would give the device the same amount of performance that I'm used to on an Android phone. But if I had $650, $700 to burn, I might just get a Lumia 930 or something equivalent, because I was pretty impressed, to be honest. It's very streamlined, it's efficient with the resources that come on the phone, and it almost ties in enough with all of the third-party services and online ecosystems that I've invested in already. And it definitely has enough competing features out of the box to compete with any other smartphone on the market, from Samsung, Motorola or otherwise. So there you go folks, there's my opinion of my week with Windows Phone. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, if you like what you see here and you want to see more, definitely feel free to subscribe, and you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter or Google+ if you like to see what I get up to the rest of the time. So thank you all for watching, let me know what you think, and I will catch you in the very next video. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.